I come from a family of 9, including my grandpa, whom we call Ji-sang, and 6 of us children. Life was quite peaceful and very quiet because this was in Haleiwa. My dad became a tailor. We were not rich, but we were not poor. We had a good life. World War II, that was the most traumatic event in my life.
I was at dormitory, mid-pack. All of a sudden, music stopped, Hawaiian music. Announcer came out again. Said, this is a war. Entire Hawaiian island under enemy attack.
I remember seeing the newspaper which said war. I said W-A-R. It was in huge letters. I didn't know what that word was.
In the immediate aftermath of the attack on Pearl Harbor, local authorities, military authorities arrested several hundred of the community leaders. There was this general assumption that the Japanese populations, even the local, the American-born Nisei, would somehow flock to the side of the Japanese. And I think it was that fear that led to these arrests.
Well, I remember one day, I guess it did happen in April, that there were some men who came to question him. My dad is Nisei, never been to Japan, so he wouldn't have anything Japanese in our house. But anyway, he left with them and he never came back.
That time, lots of Nisei with teaching Japanese school. My friend, they got arrested, when he's internment camp. Anyway, when I was arrested at school. Then there are 2 FBI men who were standing. So are you Urata, Harry Urata? Say yes. So you're under arrest.
No local Japanese or Japanese Americans were ever accused or convicted of any sort of espionage or sabotage or anything like that. The total number of internees from Hawaii we're not sure exactly the exact number. It's in the 12 to 1500 range. So there was no mass incarceration of Japanese in Hawaii, but instead this trickle of arrests and selective internment that went on.
We got to go and visit him at Sand Island. And I remember somebody explaining that he is not a prisoner, he is an intern. And I thought, well, what is the difference? Because, Pop isn't at home. I just wanted to see him.
When Sand Island closed in March of 1943, those who were left, which were almost entirely Nisei, were transferred to the Honouliuli camp. There were also a number of local Germans and Italians and even some other Europeans who were held there as well, 30-something, smaller number. And the largest group at Honouliuli actually were POWs.
Honouliuli was totally barren then. And it was huge, hot. I remember that as hot. And then there were some tents, and that's where my parents were, in tents.
How come I gotta stay inside here? Although I am an American citizen, we are there under suspicion. They just suspect us.
And all of a sudden in January, everything stopped. And then he was released on January 19th. So he came back. But he never talked about it.
after the war, Honouliuli in particular, but the whole internment story was largely forgotten.
I knew very little about my grandfather's internment. It wasn't a subject that was brought up, and it wasn't something that was talked about often. To think that my grandfather went through it and that he didn't talk about it, I find that that's just amazing. That he could have gone through something like that and not ever complain about it. I find that remarkable. I had talked to other people, friends, and I just mentioned that I'm going to go on the pilgrimage. And people didn't even know that there was an intern camp in Hawaii.
I think it's really important that those kind of sites are remembered and that people get to visit it. We're looking at the 9/11 situation, and then again, we still do the same thing. We still discriminate. We still stereotype people. But I think people's experiences have to be talked about and delivered so that maybe we can minimize that discrimination.
I think it should be preserved so that people know that this kind of thing happened in the United States, in Hawaii. People don't know that there was a thing like Honouliuli internment camp, but they're getting to know now, so we should preserve it.